day. I'll just quickly tell you a little bit about Carers UK for some of you who are not familiar with our charity. We've been going on for about 55 years, and we've mainly been behind the scenes, but lately, and I think because of what's going on, health and care, we are gaining much support from businesses, from service providers, and we are trying to put together as much possible, information, support, and advice for all carers, whether or not you're in the workplace or in the community. Next slide, please. So we're all here to support carers, but who are carers? So carers could be anyone, and it's someone who's looking after someone who's disabled, a loved one who's disabled, seriously ill or older. And caring can affect anyone at any time, and it doesn't matter your age. It can be sort of like sudden, it could be cumulative. 6,000 people every day become carers, and it could be for a lifetime or for a short period of time, for about a day or so, but you are still a carer. Next slide, please. How is caring different? We're always talking about working families, and I know so many organizations that try to put together working parents and carers as a same network. We try to tell people, if you can, as much as possible, separate them, because carers have totally different milestones to day-to-day parenting. Caring has challenging and unpredictable support needs. Are we talking about anything from hospital admission to end of life, and of course bereavement? Sadly, most times when caring ends, it tends to end in bereavement. It could be a crisis or cumulative, so an accident can happen and suddenly you find yourself a carer, or it can creep up gradually. Perhaps your elderly parents are getting older and you can see that they are slowly declining in health, and it could be anything around dementia, it could be Alzheimer's, it could be anything, but at least sometimes it can help people plan better if you see it coming. But of course, for those, most times, and it's sudden, you really don't have any plans or any choice to be able to put anything together to support your loved ones. It's hard to talk about. Carers find it very difficult to be able to talk about their situation, especially to those who are not carers. So this is why we always try to encourage employers to be able to have a carers network. It provides that social glue that people need to be able to feel supported in the workplace and have someone who is going through similar things as themselves, and to be able to talk about it and not feel that they're burdening other colleagues who are not carers and possibly may not understand. It's a very hard thing to cope with. Next slide, please. So 6.5 million carers. Well, this is from the previous census, or the current census that we've had for about 9 years now. But we all know this has changed. It's no longer 6.5 million carers, and that was 1 in 8 adults. Now we know, before COVID, that we had gotten to 8.8 million carers, almost 9 million carers. And we did say from the previous census, or the current census, that by 2037, we'll have 9 million carers. But by 2019, we had 8.8 million carers, and we're still about 18 years away to this prediction. So that just shows you the ever-changing sort of like, data around caring and how people are becoming more and becoming carers every single day. So making sure that we're able to support them, and in doing so, and being unpaid carers, we are saving the economy £132 billion every single year. Next slide, please. So from our juggling work and unpaid care report last year, in partnership with Centrica, we now realize that 1 in 7 is currently juggling work and care. 2.6 million have given up work to care, and of course 500,000 people given up work in the last 2 years as a result of caring. So we are having about 600 people every day quitting their jobs as a result of caring, and we're also looking at 6,000 people every day becoming carers, and 2 million have reduced their working hours. This is problematic because reducing your hours obviously has financial impact on you as a carer, and of course we know that since COVID, 82% of carers are finding themselves spending more, 3 times more than ever since COVID. So you can imagine if you've gone from full-time to now being a part-time worker, how much you are losing out as a carer, especially in this crisis. Next slide, please. So by the time you are 50, you would have had a 50-50 chance of becoming a carer. For a woman, that's by the age of 46, and for men, 57. But we do believe that that's actually, men tend to be carers a bit more sooner than 57, but most times they're not in the position, or they do not want to disclose that they are carers. But to know that by the age of 50, you would have had a 50-50 chance of becoming a carer, especially for women. And we also know how caring affects women. In most times, it delays your career, it defunds your career. Sometimes it moves you completely away from your career path. So it's, the impacts alone, especially in the last decade, has been really staggering. Next slide, please. So this is a research that Aviva did, I think in 2019, and they are one of members of our Employers for Carers as well. And they found that 1.3 million people in the UK are currently sandwich carers. Trapped in the middle, you have your elderly parents due to our aging population. Parents are living much longer and never in the best of health. And you've also got your parenting responsibilities alongside. And of course, there is a potential to also be caring for siblings or friends because of mental illness. And that's on the rise. So people are finding themselves really, really trapped between aging parents, children, and of course, friends and other family members. 1 in 3 report a detrimental effect on their mental health. 41% say it's affected their free time. And of course, all these, all these numbers, they've all changed since in the last 6-7 months. And 42% spend 10 hours a week caring. Now, since COVID, carers are now actually spending more than 10 hours, additional 10 hours a week, as a result of having to either care from a distance or having to bring the person that you're caring for to live within your own home. 87 don't have any dedicated savings for caring at all. Next slide. Now, these are the new figures that came out during Carers Week. So 4.5 million people found themselves becoming carers overnight in March. And on top of that, on top of the currently existing 9.1 million, so that's taking it to 13.6 million. 2.7 women, 1.8% are men, and of course 2.8 million of those are working as well as being carers. And out of the 2.8 million who are currently juggling work and care since COVID, 1.6 are actually sandwich carers. So it's, for an employer, you can imagine sort of the impact. And we all know that 72% of employers have said that the aging population, as well as the current crisis, has had detrimental effect when it comes to their employees. And also the work that they're doing, because people are really struggling, living in a bubble, working, caring, all under the same roof. Next slide, please. Now, this is the, I talked about, 600 people becoming carers every day. But what are the impacts of caring on work? So carers are more likely to have the decision to give up work almost like the first 6 weeks you start caring, because in those first couple of weeks, you're trying to find as much information, as much support, as many sort of like, putting together a network to be able to help you, through your responsibilities, whether it's trying to find the support in the workplace or of course in your community. We have, through our State of Caring conference, and we have our next State of Caring conference next week. And from the survey, we've also found out how much sort of like impact mentally it has on carers. And we also know that almost a third cited the lack of accessible and flexible and affordable care services also has a serious impact on their lives, and as well as the person that they are caring for. And nearly a quarter have reduced their hours, and 15% have given up opportunities for training and promotion. And for me, and I think one thing that resonates very well from your story, Diane, was just when you talked about, really, going for that job that which you eventually did get successfully, to know that most carers wouldn't even dare to try to do something like that because they are fearful, because caring still has a stigma attached to it. Why that is, we don't know. And it could be a combination of so many different things, because people do feel that if you have caring responsibilities, you will not be present at work. Trying to, give you promotion means there's other things to think about, and knowing fully well that maybe your commitment may not be fully with your employer. So to hear that story where someone's actually feeling empowered and going for something that they really want, it's really endearing. And I think this is kind of like a story we'd like to share more often, so that carers do know that they can, either go for a promotion, expand their current position, or perhaps even increase their working hours. Next slide, please. So what carers need from employers? And I think, Chris, you really touched on some of the key points that we preach on a daily basis to employers: being understanding. And that's the whole point of why we try to develop the resources around employers for carers, to be able to give line managers the training, the vital training that they need to be able to have the conversation, to be able to be understanding. It's one thing to signpost people to numerous practical resources that we have dedicated to carers, but if I don't have a good manager who understands me, who knows me, who can identify me, then none of it would even work, because when I come back to the workplace, it's still back to a ground zero. So to be able to be understanding, to be flexible. And I think we also need to talk about, are we a reactive kind of managers, or do we reflect? Are we very quick to say no? Or can we say, all right, no problem, let's talk about it. Let's put some time in a diary and we can have a good chatter about this. So, but we can also look at flexible leave arrangement. There's so many different ways that people can work flexibly, and it's not all about working from home. Most carers do not want to work from home, because that's exactly where all your problems are currently existing. So your workplace is your sanctuary. But what can we do to turn it around? So it could be anything from compressed hours, annualized hours. There's so many ways we can do that flexibly, and it doesn't have to involve working from home. Access to training and promotion, exactly what I talked about just a few moments ago. It's really, if we can understand who carers are, their needs, and know how to work with them, in terms of promotion, that is not a problem. Carers are able, they are not disabled, they are able to be able to do their job as well as be a carer. I'm a carer, but I also have a career, and why not? But also having the opportunity to be able to provide training and ensuring that they do get access to promotion, they do get access to everything else that any other dedicated employee can have access to. Next slide, please. The business case for supporting carers. Well, Chris, this is, again, as you were talking, all I can think was, wow. I think you have been through our ESC Digital, because this is something that we really talk about on a daily basis. We try to push this as widely as possible to employers to say the benefits of supporting carers. Wow, endless. Do we talk about the fact that he attracts and retains your best staff, reduces recruitment and training costs? Well, it costs you more money to lose someone who's got wealth of experience for so many years, only for you to get someone new, retrain them to do the same thing. That costs you more money. Well, unless you've got that to burn, no problem. Reduces stress. I mean, we are talking about constantly carers, we're talking about mental well-being on a daily basis. Well, what can we do to ensure that our employees are in the best possible health mentally to be able to do their job? But to be honest with you, providing support in the workplace does reduce that stress. To know that I don't have to think about every day I go into work, the kind of conversation I'll have to have with my manager, the kind of conversations I have to have with HR, or even with my fellow colleagues as well. It reduces sick leave. If we are a carer-friendly organization where we can talk about caring, where we remove the stigma, it will reduce sick leave. People will no longer have to call in sick or have to use their annual leave to be able to care. Why should you use your annual leave or have to lie to be able to, be a carer, to be able to care for someone that you love, as well as do your job? It increases resilience and productivity. If I'm in a supportive environment or with an organization that knows me and recognizes the amount of my input and my work commitment, it does help you be productive, and it serves the employer as well. You reap the benefits of having a really good employee doing their job. Improves service delivery, improves people management, and of course the general staff morale. So it really is about retention, resilience, and you do get the results. Next slide, please. Now, capturing the financial benefits, something you talked about, Chris, when you were asked about the cost. Well, to be honest with you, you save money. You make money by being a carer-friendly organization, by having practices in place, by having policies in place, by having a carer's passport. Now, if you are Centrica, they've managed to capture how much they actually save every year by being a carer-friendly organization. I know that, Centrica has been doing this for so long, over 15 years of having a carers network, when that was not even on the agenda, on the radar for anybody else. They were talking about carers. They have moved on from working parents. They've gotten onto carers. They're saving 2.5 million every year through increased staff retention, and 4.5 through reduced unplanned absenteeism, especially, and this came about through working with their engineers, because having some of them were slightly older, so you can imagine the amount of responsibilities they had outside of the workplace, but having to work with them, and of course extending that widely throughout the whole organization, they've managed to save this staggering amount of money. And BT as well. BT also captured that they've saved over £2 million every year by being a carer-friendly organization. So if we don't think about sort of the morale side of things, but think about the business benefits, if that's what will give to be able to drive home the need why we need to support working carers. Next slide, please. So the common challenges for employers, we do realize sometimes it's all about sort of like, the awareness. Are we doing enough to be able to raise awareness, letting carers know the support that's available? I'll be honest with you, I know some really incredible organizations doing fantastic work, but if you speak to about 50% of their own employees, they have no idea that such practices or such policies are actually existing for carers. They haven't heard of so many different support mechanisms in the workplace to be able to help them. They haven't heard of it. So it's just having that disconnect between those in a position to be able to share the information, let people know what's going on, and those who are meant to be receiving this information. So we really need to make sure that we are doing so much in terms of our awareness. Policies and practices, they've got to be transparent. We have to be very clear when we are putting policies down, exactly what we intend to achieve by having those policies in place. And of course, a lot of it has to do with dialogue with carers to be able to know what can we do more to be able to support you. We recognize how much you do for us. We recognize the impact of your work. We do not want to lose you. Line management training, this is really important because if you are in a position to line manage anyone, then you really must be able to understand them. Because to be honest with you, as a line manager, you could be doing and saying all the wrong things. And when that lawsuit comes, it's not going to go on you, it's going to go to the actual organization. So, you've put them in a position where they have to then dig themselves out of. So as a line manager, it is worth knowing. The knowledge is power. Is be able to know how to support someone and also be consistent in that support. And that's something that carers do point out, is we would appreciate it if our managers can be sort of like be the same in anything they do or say to us, or any arrangements they come, we sort of like, come together to be able to sort of like, to talk about. We want that consistency to be there and still be the same. So it's really great to be able to train our line managers. Carers do need allies. So you don't have to be a carer to care. So as a line manager, you may not be a carer, but you can still be able to understand how to do that. Access to promotion opportunities, we just talked about that, and just so many different ways that you can work with carers to be able to achieve that. Promoting a carer-friendly culture and leading from the top. We always talk about real change comes from the very top. It's not middle managers. They cannot do that kind of change, but it has to come from someone in a very senior position saying it's okay for line managers to support carers. It's okay to talk about it. It's okay to put your hand up and request for help and say who you are and identify as a carer. It's bad enough that carers, it takes 2 years for a carer to identify. And I've met someone who works for a council and he's been caring for 7 years, still hasn't identified as a carer because to him, he's doing all the things that are just natural. I'm looking after my mother, so I'm not a carer. This is something I have to do. Who's going to do it? It's on me. So you can imagine what they're going through, the impact as well. So if we can have a culture that makes it okay to be able to identify, that would be really incredible. Next slide, please. Now, Employers for Carers. So Employers for Carers is our Carers UK business-led forum, started over 10 years ago, and currently we have 220 members. It's really informed by businesses. We had 10 sort of like founding members, and we tried some of the resources with them, and they all came back to us to say, these resources are really amazing. Let's turn it into what it is today. So it's really driven by our commitment to be able to support employers, as well as your commitment to support working carers. So we are reaching potentially 3.5 million employees in the UK at the moment. And I'll talk you through some of the how to access the platform. So we have done it in such a way that it's been split into sort of like 5 different areas. But in terms of Employers for Carers, these are some of the benefits of being a member of our Employers for Carers. You have access to our EFC digital platform, home to all the resources, including e-learning modules, guides, toolkits, sample policies, a survey. And I think, Chris, you did mention, about how many, so like not knowing how many carers you possibly have within your workplace, but you can actually have a survey to determine and capture really how many carers you have. And that really does help when you are putting together any sort of like policies, or you're having dialogue with carers, to be able to know exactly, the percentage in your workplace, how many of those are carers. We have our networking event. Our next one is on the 4th of November. And this is an opportunity to be able to bring together people from, the private sector, the public sector, local authorities, third sector, and we share good practice. We share challenges as well. It's not about all the great things that are working in our lives. It's all about things that are not currently working in a really great way. We provide consultancy work as well. So if you feel that you have gaps within in your workplace, and you try to be able to put together some policies, or even talk about a carer's passport, or how we can potentially train your line managers, we can do that with you. We have our lunch and learn sessions, we have promotional materials, and of course, finally, we have our benchmark scheme called Carer Confident, which we set up just under 2 years ago. So all of this, we're trying to provide a platform for employers to be able to know and also learn from each other how they can best support carers in the workplace. Next slide, please. So this is EFC Digital, and that is a platform that has been built for line managers, for HR, anyone responsible for employee in the workplace. This is a platform for you. And I'll show you in the next slide how to get onto the platform. But it's home to some incredible number of resources, from guides, to a manager's guide, to a employer's guide, to carer's guide, how to request flexible working, the legal rights of carers in the workplace and outside of the workplace. Those really matter very much. And we're also looking at some of the toolkits that we put together to be able to support line managers, from having the from having the conversation to the care conversation for carers. How do you talk to your elderly parents to let them know that perhaps this is the time to move them to more of an advanced professional care home, and they have to leave their present home where they've lived for possibly over 50 years? How do you talk to them about that? We look at managing change, especially, it could be in the times of crisis like this, or it could be any kind of crisis. How do we manage change for a carer, as well as from a line manager perspective? Contingency planning. We need to put together a good contingency plan especially around policies, so that if there's any change, or if there's any crisis of any kind, it doesn't have to be a health crisis, a business can still continue to function for all, including for carers as well as the business. So these are things that we are constantly trying to refresh and add. And we just added a new resource, a new e-learning module 2 weeks ago called Carer Aware. This was funded by the NHS, and we actually built it for frontline staff to be able to help them support and identify carers at the very beginning. But we then realized, wait a minute, this can actually work for any kind of employer. So it would be really great to have it. 10-minute bite-sized e-learning module next to the e-learning module for line managers training. That's something that's really also another really fantastic resource. It's a way of training your line managers to be able to understand the business benefits of supporting carers in the workplace, as well as the legal rights of carers in and out of the workplace. And a general staff induction e-learning module. And this is for all staff. You don't have to be a carer to be able to know this, because today I'm the carer and tomorrow it could very well be you. So it'd be great for you to be able to know how to support carers, you know, in the workplace, and as a colleague as well. Carers do need allies. So we also have sample policies. We have anything you need to be able to support you. We encourage you to plagiarize everything that you see on this platform, because it's been curated just so that it would make life easy for anyone who is trying to put together resources to support carers in the workplace. Next slide. Right, so this is how you get onto the platform. It is efcdigital.org. And thank you, Kirklees Council, for having to provide this umbrella membership. So the umbrella membership works in such a way that you can extend this to SMEs, health partners in your locality. So this is how you get onto the platform, efcdigital.org, and you use this code, hashtag EFC220, to set up and create an account. It is so easy. We are constantly creating accounts on a daily basis. We are constantly shopping on Amazon. It's not different from this. So if you can do any of those, you can easily do this right now. And I even urge you, as we are talking, if you can get onto EFC Digital, use this code and set up an account as soon as you can. It's home to a wealth of resource, as I mentioned, and it will prove absolutely useful for anyone running a small business or a health partner in Kirklees. However, if you are a large organization with over 250 staff, then it's best if you can come to us directly, Client Services or Carers UK, and we'll be able to talk you through some of the other benefits of being an employer at large and how you can be a part of the EFC Business Forum, because this really is for small businesses and health partners in Kirklees. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, this is an umbrella module, and so it has access which cascades down to every single business in this small SME within this locality, and of course it's free to all health partners. It is best to make the most of what is available here. The council has done incredibly well to be able to, you know, put this together and roll it out in the community. So let's please all make the most of this umbrella membership. Next slide. So I talked about our Carer Confident Benchmark scheme, and this has been really useful for a number of organizations to be able to help them test exactly where they are in terms of supporting carers. And also it's something to be proud of, and you can use this in such a way that you can even have in your email signature, and to be able to show potential new employees, or even those that you are your suppliers or any other business contact, that you are a carer friendly organization. It really does help to be able to have that conversation. And for those who are looking in or trying to apply for jobs in your own organization, to know that this is an organization that can support me, that knows potentially can identify me and be able to signpost me to relevant help that I need. So that's our benchmark scheme, and of course it's really discounted for those who are members of Employees for Carers. And if you are an SME receiving this through an umbrella scheme, you also pay the same price as the member who owns this. So you pay the same fee as the local authority who is subscribing to the resource. Next slide, please. So this is a digital resource for carers. So this is the second platform that we built, and this is dedicated to carers. Whether you're working carer, you're not working, it doesn't matter. It's made up of practical resources to be able to support carers. We've split into 5 main theme areas: health and well-being, support for caring, technology, financial planning, and working and skills. And what we've done in the last couple of weeks is to really move a lot of the resources around and added more resources to it. So in health and well-being, it's really dedicated to you and your well-being. So we're looking at building emotional and physical resilience in caring, because to do this platform, to have this platform exactly where it is, it's come about through a consultation with carers. So, we've spoken to carers, we've found out what's really important for you. What do you need? What can we do better to be able to support you? And this is what carers have said to us. If you don't have, emotional resilience, or if you don't build that physical resilience in caring, you haven't even started this journey. It will break you. So, we've gone back to Bupa because we had the existing resource, and we said we would like to flesh it out, we'd like to enhance it and talk about things that we didn't talk about before, such as loss and bereavement, and also mindfulness and mood, things that we know that carers are going through every single day. So what we've done now is to have you and your well-being, really, and all these e-learning modules are all very interactive. So we've had that there, and we also have resources around nutrition, which is really, really important, because if you're not eating right, or if you're not feeding the person you're caring in the right way, well, I can't really tell you what potentially could happen. But it looks at the role of good nutrition in your life, in your household. Do you even know what that looks like? And for you as a carer, are you eating well? What are you eating? What are you feeding the person that you are caring for? So these are very interactive 45-minute e-learning module. And, it plays around, and you can ask you different questions. And before you get onto the next slide, you have to go through some of those questions. But it also puts a spotlight on nutrition in general, and it talks about malnutrition, about how we know that 5 million people are either suffering or on the verge of becoming malnourished in this country, and how we can prevent that from happening. And for you as a carer, are you eating well? What do you even know what to feed someone who's got dementia, who's got cancer, who's got high blood pressure? And he talks you through all those things. And of course, he ends with taking a break, respite care, which is so important for all carers. You must look after yourself. You must take that much needed break. Whether or not you're reaching out to your adult social care services to be able to do an assessment for you and the cared for, to be able to provide that stand-in, or if not, we signpost you to a private organization that can support you. In support and caring, we have looked around how you can also build a network to be able to support you as a carer. It looks at sort of like how you can find information across all 4 nations when it comes to trying to find the support in your area, or maybe you live in England and your parents live in Scotland, to be able to know the available support in Scotland that could also help your loved ones. So we've really sort of like really tried to put as much in there as we can, but we also have 2 really fantastic resources embedded in support for caring. And one of them is around the Upfront Guide, which has been built for carers to be able to navigate the really crazy maze that is caring, and all the support that's available. And it will ask you a series of questions, from finances to relationships. And from what you've answered, we'll then curate and put together all these sort of like support, and they will email it to you. We don't get to hold any of that information. That goes straight to your email address. Should you delete it by accident, you have to do this all over again. But it will just signpost you to all the relevant things that you need within your own community. We also have the backup called My Backup, a good contingency plan, because every carer needs a good contingency plan for when the unplanned happens, or something that we don't see, the unseen creeps up on us. We didn't see COVID happening, but so do you have a good backup? If you're not able to give your mom medication at 3, is there somebody else who can do that for you? So putting that together, does your GP know that you're a carer? Knowing all of that, knowing how to put that really close network together. Then the third section is around technology. This is home to our technology, our care coordination app called Jointly, because we do believe that caring is so much easier when it's done jointly. So what Jointly does is to help you build a care support around the person that you're looking after. You can then say, your mom, Betty, she's 66, she's got breast cancer. And then from there, you start building a support. You can allocate tasks to people to let them know, maybe 6 o'clock, if you can help mom have a wash, and so on. And if the person's done, it could be their neighbor or it could be a family friend, they can come into the app and take it off. So you are miles away and you know that things are being taken care of. So it helps those who are caring from a distance as well. We also know that it also helps those who are caring within the same sort of like vicinity as well. It has a medication tab, so you can list previous and present medication. It has a messaging tool, so you don't have to exit the app to be able to talk to someone else. You can do it all there. Contact, sync all the contacts. It has, the dates. You can put all the appointments in there. It really is exactly what it says on the tin. It's a care coordination app. It's not an information app. We do not want to talk to carers any more than they're already being talked to. We just want to be able to give them practical things to support them. We're looking at financial planning. Do you even know the impact of caring on your finances, especially if you have to reduce your hours, as we mentioned earlier? And of course, since the current crisis, carers are spending even more. 72% are spending 3 times more. And then of course, a lot of them are spending it on bills as well as food. So it really helps to be able to know the impact of it. And of course, how you can save household bills, including housing benefit, will help you sort of like, talk you through the steps on how to do that. It could be around prescription as well, how you can get the reduced costs when it comes to prescription. But most importantly, we're looking at how you can step in and provide help for someone who is mentally declining and having that power of attorney to be able to help them manage their own affairs before it becomes too late. And then finally, we have working and skills. Now, this is even a much more bigger and robust section, because we have really populated it with so many really important things where carers are coming to us with questions such as, should I tell my line manager I'm a carer? Should I tell my colleagues I'm a carer? Well, it's entirely up to you. We understand the private nature of having that information very close to you without sharing it. But if you don't disclose your current situation, how would anyone be in a position to help you? So perhaps it might be a really good idea to tell your line manager what you're going through, and you can have that support. We always get questions from carers saying to us, I'm thinking about leaving work. Have you thought about the financial implications of doing that? So perhaps speak to your HR, speak to your line manager before you can make such drastic actions. And we also have this really great e-learning modules, really important, because we had this just launched before lockdown, and it was launched at Carers UK office by the Care Minister, and it's called Learning for Living. Learning for Living is sort of like an e-learning module that helps carers recognize the vital skills they've gained through caring. So someone could have been cooking for 20 years for a loved one constantly. You probably didn't think cooking is a vital skill, but you'd be surprised what you can do with that. You can change industries, you can, move sideways in any organization that you are in. So it could be doing 5 minutes of finances for your for your grandfather every week. That could also, perhaps think about going into bookkeeping, but it's just to know that every single thing you've ever done as a carer was never wasted. It was never useless. It is something that someone can benefit, either an employer or in a volunteer capacity. So making the most of it and having the confidence to be able to recognize it and utilize it to the best of your, to the best as you can, really. So these are really important e-learning modules that we have within Working and Skills, and so many other numerous resources within Working and Skills for working carers, as well as those who are thinking about coming back into the workplace after many years of becoming a carer. So that's your digital resource for carers. Next slide, please. Finally, I think this is possibly my last slide anyway. This is how you get onto the platform. So again, Kirklees Council have really subscribed to this. So it is for you to be able to make the most of it. carersdigital.org, and you use the membership code that is unique to your locality, which is DGTL7419. Create an account and access the digital resource. So we have really put together our expertise, as well as giving the council and the centre an opportunity to be able to put their own information to signpost carers across anywhere, as long as you feel that it's relevant for carers to be able to know what's going on in your community. So it's our information, yours, and sitting in this one platform. And so carers never have to go anywhere to be able to find information. And if you look on the right side, we also have our COVID-19 guidance that takes you straight to Carers UK, numerous dedicated pages on COVID. And we also have in the last couple of days added the flu jabs information. So that will also take you straight to Carers UK, and also how people can find information around flu jabs as well. It gives you straight access to our online forum. So Carers UK, as I mentioned earlier, is a free national membership charity. And we have a dedicated online community that any carer can just access. As long as you're a member, you have access to this 24/7. So if you feel in the middle of the night that you've had enough, you're fed up and you want to talk to someone, you just want to vent, you can just go on the our forum, and you will have someone who will be there, who will talk to you, who's going through something similar, and be able to offer you some nice, kind words. We hope anyway, but it's very well regulated, so no one's ever abusive. So you just kind of like have that really nice, good community. And that's what we're all about, trying to provide community as well as resources for carers. And the final slide, please. So this is how you can get in touch with us. You can come straight to Employers for Carers or our client services team, as well as going straight to our Carers UK website to be able to find any information that you desire. Or you can also email our 24-hour service online team, info@Carers UK or advice@carersuk.org. And we are really available at any time to be able to take any questions from whether you're an employer, an employee, or just a carer in your community. Thank you.
Thank you, Juliet.